Because we're live now.
We're live.
Good evening. Buenas noches. How is everybody? Thank you for joining us tonight. You see, I have my special guests with me.
Hello, everybody.
We're trying something a little different tonight. We are live here on YouTube, but we're also live on LinkedIn. So, hopefully that's doing what it's supposed to do there. Oh, I just got a LinkedIn notification. I wonder if it's telling me
that you're live.
Yes, that is what it's telling me. So
perfect.
We're live on LinkedIn then. Good evening, everybody. I'm trying to think of why we're here tonight, but I don't know. I got some feelings today, which is why I have a glass of whiskey over here because the election was yesterday, and well, y'all know how that turned out. Okay, so before we just dive right into our topic tonight, we will introduce ourselves in case y'all don't know who we are. I will go first. My name is Adelia Borshade, although most people on the internet probably know me as Picky Girl Travels or Picky Girl Travels the World. I have been living abroad for the last 6 years. I am a traveler. What else am I? Oh, a financial educator. I have to think about these things. I am a financial educator. It is my life's goal, my life's purpose. It is the thing that I am most passionate about, helping Black women develop financial confidence so that they can get their money under control and they can live the life of their dreams, which is kind of what I've been doing. This is my YouTube channel. And on this channel, we talk about finances, we talk about travel, we talk about living abroad, we talk about my life here in Mexico. So if any of those things sound of interest to you, be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, press all the buttons, do all the things. And my guest tonight probably looks familiar to a lot of y'all because there are times when we're out and people are like, okay, and what's your YouTube channel called? So, Miss Ivana Robinson, tell us about yourself.
Yes, Ivana Robinson. Ivana Run the World on Instagram, technically Twitter, but I don't actually tweet, so don't go look for me there. I am also a traveler, but a life coach as well, a life and leadership coach. And I focus on unfulfilled professionals, helping them to find the confidence and clarity to go after their real dream, if you will. So very similar to what you do, Adelia, of we want people to live lives that they're excited about.
Yes. Lives that they choose, that they don't just let happen to them. And I know a little bit about that because for the first half of mine, I was not really living a life I was excited about, one that I chose. It was more like I just let things happen to me. So that also feeds my passion for the work that we do. So yeah, that's who we are. You can follow Ivana on Instagram. I was like, where do we start? Okay, so we're going to talk about tonight how alignment changed our lives. I'm sure everybody's bored of hearing my same old story.
What a cop out.
Okay. So, all right. So would you say that the life you are living today in 2022, would you say that that is a life that is aligned?
100%.
Okay. Would that have always been your answer?
No, definitely not. And I would argue, it hasn't been like, I guess in the span of my life, right? It hasn't been that long that I would say that like, yes, this life, the way in which I'm living it now, I wake up every day. Okay, maybe not every day, but most days really excited and like, I am very joyful about the life that I'm leading.
Do you dread Mondays?
That's a complicated answer because I now take swim lessons on Monday mornings. And
I forgot about that.
As Adelia knows, I don't really do mornings and I really don't like the water. For me, this is learning a life skill. So for me right now, Mondays are not my favorite, but not because of the usual reasons, I would say.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking because you were going to say like, okay, maybe I'm not excited every day. And I don't get excited about a lot of things. So that's number one. But I used to have when somebody asked like, how are you doing? It was never great. I'm awesome. It was always like, oh, well, or this thing is not going the way it's supposed to. That I actually found like, I don't know how to answer that question now because my life doesn't suck anymore. So like, I don't know. What do you say? Because do people want to hear my life is fabulous. I'm great. I don't know. And like,
if it's the truth, it's the truth.
I used to dread Mondays, of course, because I taught. And so like now there's no difference to me now between a Monday, a Wednesday, a Friday, a Saturday. It's like, it's just a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a day.
Yeah.
So if your life is in alignment now, what was it like before?
It wasn't bad.
Or was it?
It just wasn't great. And I guess it all depends on how you're defining, bad versus good. But I think for many of us, especially the people we're talking to, right, it's not that things are terrible, right? I was not, for the most part, worried about where my paycheck or like food or housing, like that wasn't my issue. But I was not at a job that I enjoyed. I was in a city that I liked for most of it, but like I was not able to spend my time on things that I wanted to be spending my time on.
I think that's big. I think the majority are there people who have jobs they enjoy?
I enjoy my job now.
Okay. Fair point. Fair point. I walked into that one. Cause like I like what I do now. And when I taught, I enjoyed teaching. It was all the other stuff with it that was sucking the life out of me that that made it hard for me to go to work every day.
Yeah, I don't know that. And so for me, it was, I guess maybe a little different in that I liked the people I was working with and like I generically liked the company I worked for, but the work I was doing was not exciting to me. So it was very difficult to like, I don't know. I was good at my job. Don't get me wrong, but things were more, it was more of a struggle to get through the day than it really should have been, given how many hours most of us are spending at work.
Okay. So how did you get from there to where you are now?
Great question. I guess the short side of the story is that I quit that job. The short version. The long version is I went on a life-changing trip to Antarctica.
Ooh, I don't know that I've heard this story.
Oh, okay. So I had this dream, or my goal was to visit all 7 continents before I turned 30. And so February 2020, I took a cruise to Antarctica, my 7th continent, celebrated my 29th birthday. And while doing that, being on the ship, seeing, you know, sort of this, for the most part, untouched land and animals living their lives and things like that, it just kind of hit me one day as I'm like staring into just this vast, you know, ice and water, just greatness. I don't know. That, you know, my day was a 10 out of 10. Like in that moment, I was like, I want to feel like this every day. And I was like, what do I need to do that? And for me, it was quitting my job. And not because like I needed to quit the job, but mostly because quitting my job allowed me the time and the space to figure out the other pieces. What is it I really wanted to be doing for work? How is it I really wanted to spend my time?
So what, before that moment in Antarctica, had you realized that the life you were living, your day-to-day, they weren't 10 out of 10?
Yes, 100%. I knew that I was not happy. I had a longer term plan to quit my job. You know, more months than, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to do all these things and I'm going to do the job. And by then I will have figured out, you know, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew how I was going to go. I figured I needed a few months to figure out how I was going to go about it. But it was one of those things where I work all day. And then by the time I actually have some free time, the last thing I want to do is like sit in front of my computer or reflect or be introspective. I was just tired, like mentally exhausted. And it was just a never ending cycle.
That's one of the things that Stephanie Perry talks about a lot, is that free time is the key. Giving yourself that space and that time to kind of figure things out. But I'm still impressed that you were still putting this together fairly quickly.
You say putting this together like there was a plan. The plan was, when I get back on Friday, I'm giving notice on Monday. That was the plan. But yes, I literally landed back in Colorado on a Friday. Monday, started making phone calls.
Wow. Again, that is still a very short period of time, because I'm thinking about in my own situation, I'm talking about years, decades that it took me to get to the point that I was like, this can't continue. Like, I can't keep living like this.
I think that was me as well, in that, you know, I don't know, I was living in DC for a while and wanted to go abroad, but wanted to do that with the security of my corporate job. So as some people may know, I ended up moving to Belgium for 2 years, which was great in some ways. In some ways it wasn't. But I think I got to the point where I realized that I could not be doing things for the gratification of other people, which is what I was doing, right? Of, if I'm going to quit my job, I need to have another job lined up, or I need to have an answer for when my mother asks me, so what are you going to do now? Right? Like that, I think, was a lot of what was keeping me into the job of like, I work for this great company and the name, you know, opens a lot of doors and people feel good about that. Or, you know, I went to this really great school, and what you're supposed to do after you go to college is get the job and then you're there. And so for me, it was learning that those two ideas could not coexist.
Okay. So you got back from Antarctica, you quit your job. Mm-hmm. Is this is still February, or is this the beginning of March 2020?
So my last day was the day that the NBA shut down, like when everything really went down. So there was a minute of maybe now isn't the time. maybe I should go talk to them. But I was like, no, I think as we're talking about alignment, this is how I knew that I was making a decision that was aligned with, my core, was because even though I was scared, right? We didn't really know what was happening, at that point in 2020 with the pandemic. Obviously scared to be without an income at that point in time, but there was a sense of peace about it.
I can identify with that. For so much of my life, there was a lack of peace.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know anything different. So when I finally started doing things and living my life in such a way that it matched with what my goals were, what were the things that were important to me, I very much felt that peace. And that's why I was like, oh, this must be it. This must be the right way for me to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do want to add that I also acknowledge I was in a place of privilege and that I don't have kids. I did not own any property. At that specific point in time, I had actually moved in with my best friend. So I had a safety network to work with in terms of like quitting my job. Being, homeless or hungry was never something I was afraid was going to happen, just given where I was at that point in time and things like that. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to be out here quitting their job. Maybe that's you, but also don't do that just because I said that that's what I did.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not so quick to be like, no, maybe you shouldn't. But no, I get what you're saying. For me, I think I wish it would have been like that. I had this moment of clarity, or maybe I did, but mine was so long in coming that it was to the point that I did not care. I did have like all of the responsibilities one accumulates by midlife, but I was so tired of the dissatisfaction, the like, is this all life has to offer me, that I didn't care. I was like, if I got to work at Starbucks, oh, well, I don't care. If I got to move in with somebody, which is a big deal for me because I don't like living with other people. I was like, I don't care, but I can't keep doing this. I can't keep living this way.
Yeah. But I think that is the switch though, of sort of in that moment of being able to redefine failure, if you will. Because I think for me, a long time, failure was having to move back to Colorado and like live with my mother, or in even a certain way with my best friend. If I had to go back to Colorado, it means everything went wrong. As opposed to the reframe of me moving back to Colorado is what allowed me, more freedom to make different choices.
Yeah.
And so I think for some people, right, the idea that you had to go work if you had to go work at Starbucks, right, from your, good job with the benefits or whatever, however we kind of frame it, that would be seen as a failure. When in reality, that's a job you get to leave at the end of the day and don't have to think about till you show up the next time.
A win is a win. But actually, I was thinking about this last week, that there are probably people who look at my life now and kind of see it as a failure. Not that I care, but by the typical standards of success, I don't have those things. I don't have a, do I have a career? I don't know. I don't.
You have a profession.
I do have a profession. Is a profession and a career the same thing? I don't know. But the idea that, or at least in my head, very much for a long time, being successful involved, like you had a singular source of income. And that I have shifted my life in such a way that like I make a little money here, I make a little money there. It doesn't matter, it's all money. But I think by the old standard I used to live by, there are probably people who look at me and they're like, oh, that Adelia, she must be going through some kind of midlife crisis. actually, I probably already had that, but you know, like the way my life, I'm living it now, it probably seems like a big failure. Like, because I don't have a house, I don't have a car,
Yeah.
I don't have a man. I mean, like I ain't got
Well,
none of that
that's a
stuff.
whole nother conversation. But I actually asked my Instagram followers earlier this week, you know, if you could go back to the beginning of time and define like what is the measurement of success, what would you choose? And ownership of your time came up probably more than any other answer.
And I think that's probably my biggest win in the way that I am living now, is that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I don't have to be around people I don't want to have to be around. And that,
Yeah.
because so much of my life was the complete opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. When he says, as long as you're happy in your life, you have succeeded. That's true. But we don't always, it's true, but we don't always act like it's true, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at the comments here. So Minnie's definition of success is rooted in consumerism. I think my path to where I am now probably started around 2010 or so, when I made a conscious decision to be a more conscious consumer of things. And that, you know, that led to a whole bunch of things. Like I stopped relaxing my hair. I started asking questions about, you know, like, what am I eating? Who made the clothes I buy? All these kinds of questions. And that kind of opened up the door for me to think about, like, how do I want to live? What are the things that I really want to support? And then here I am now. As my cousin called me once, she said I was bohemian. And when she first called me that, I kind of took it as an insult. I was like, what? But then I guess technically it's not wrong. So
By definition.
yeah, it's not wrong. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure why I felt it was an insult when she first said it.
I mean, I honestly, when I think about it, if someone were to call me that, I would also be like, I'm so not. But the reality is, I also would fall into that. The fact that when I, you know, catch up with friends or whatever, the first question is, where are you today? Okay. Yeah.
Because nobody can make an assumption about that. Okay, so how has alignment changed my life? I finally got to know, I like this comfort. I like this. I've never thought about it that way,
True.
but it is true. I like that. What was I saying? Oh, how has alignment changed my life? Now that the life I live matches up with the person I am inside. I don't know. I guess it's a relief, because I spent so much time like trying to fit into this box of who I was supposed to be. And no matter how uncomfortable the box was, how ill-fitting it was, at no point did I stop and think I shouldn't be trying to fit into the box. It was just, oh, I'm the problem because I'm having trouble fitting into the box and shrinking myself and doing all these things. And it really came down, I had to choose me. It was a matter of survival, because I think if I had not, I quite possibly would not be here talking to y'all today. And so it's like my hand was forced more than it was something I was able to come to sort of like gradually and, you know, in my own time. It was like, I can't keep doing this anymore. I have to do something else. And if I also felt like, if living the life that I want, if it's wrong, oh well, I'm just going to be wrong.
Right? Like you tried.
I did. I tried really fucking hard for a really long time, and it about took me out. So yeah. And I would say that I have had more people be like, oh my gosh, you look so good. Like, I didn't realize how much all of that was weighing on me and manifesting itself in like, I was always looking tired, always looked like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders because I was. And like now, I'm carefree.
Yeah. It does show up in how you carry yourself, and like other people I think can definitely read those things about you.
I see a conversation. I'm trying to scroll back to see what it's about. MT is okay. I see MT said something about Black excellence being a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
because we can't like excellence our way out of white supremacy. Okay. Like it's just never gonna happen. So I'm gonna be over here and maybe mediocre and happy. Like it's not gonna fix our problems.
Yeah. And then I saw something about what they say, next move to get the degree, something. And then somebody else was like, maybe you don't even need the degree. And okay, who dropped out of grad school 3 times? Because I just had it in my head like that was the next thing I was supposed to do. And despite the struggle that always ensued, because it wasn't the learning, it was, all the hoops and whatnot. In my head, you couldn't just learn stuff. You had to learn stuff and get the piece of paper. And by not getting the piece of paper, I had somehow failed. And now I do not feel that way anymore, but I did for a very long time.
Yeah, I remember my freshman year of college. The first semester was not great for me. It was quite the, just transition, I will say. I went home for Thanksgiving or, winter break or whatever. And at one point my mom was like, so are you going back to school? And I'm like, why are you asking me that? Like, of course I'm going back. And she's like, because you have nothing positive to say about it. And I just remember thinking, well, I can't stay here. So I'm going to go back there. Like, I have to your point, like, I have to go to college. What do you mean? Like, why are you asking me this? Of course I am. I'm, like, I'm not a failure. I'm not whatever, well, right? Yeah. And it worked out. Like, I now look back very fondly on my college experience. The rest of it was great after that first semester. But I do wonder if I had more internal freedom to think about, well, maybe I don't need to go back, or maybe not right now, or, and not have taken that so much as a sign of like, I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
No, I can remember saying that I wasn't particularly enthused at the thought of going to college, but that's what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And I got a scholarship. So what was I going to do? Not take the scholarship and do what? Keep working at Popeyes? And, and so I can remember saying like, I don't know what else to do. So I'm going to go do this thing. And like you said, I did not have that internal freedom to even explore anything else as an option. Mm-hmm. There've been several comments about how stunningly beautiful you are and your smile and your buzz cut and all of that. But
thank you.
I think you're right. Glass half full. I think that when you are living a life that aligns with the things that are important to you, the things that you value, and you are spending your time doing the things that you want. And I know sometimes it might sound like doing what I want might be like, oh, I just want to lie around at the beach all day. For me, I think, is determining how I spend my day and doing work that matters. When I felt that the work I was doing as a teacher was I was going to say no longer appreciated. It wasn't ever appreciated, but they were even more like in my face with the lack of appreciation. I was kind of like, so why am I here? Why am I working so hard to do this? And so I spend my days now helping Black women. And like, to me, that's the ultimate thing.
Right. But I think that's the important part, right? It's not that what you do now matters any more, any less than what you did before, but it matters to you more.
Okay. All right. I can see that.
You know, I think it's, I guess when we talk about, you know, being able to choose how we spend our time, and that is something we will get into further in our workshop next Friday. So you should all join us.
Oh, yeah.
How
There's
to align
a link in the description.
There you go. How to align your goals, time, and money. But it's being able to make decisions, right, that are in alignment with like your core values, and right, like, and who you are. And so that isn't always necessarily the quote unquote fun thing, right? Like, to your point, we can't necessarily lay on the beach all day, every day. We still have to, we're still in capitalism. We still have to make some money, right, to eat, like those things. But at least within that scope, you can make different choices that do feel good to you and that you can feel good about, as opposed to a means to an end.
Had a question from Ade. Did you at any point know you were aligning in your process? If yes, what did it look like? Now that I look back on it and realize, because I have always thought that my movement into alignment came like right before I got divorced, right before I turned 40. And actually, it probably started about 4 or 5 years before that. And that 4 or 5 years earlier, I didn't realize that what I was doing. But around 39, 40, I literally sat down and was like, what do I want my life to look like? What does my life look like now? And what don't I like about it? And so I became very purposeful, because again, like I said before, I got to the point that I was like, I cannot continue to live this way. Like, if this is the life I have to continue to live, this is not doable for me. So, and I think I did a podcast episode or two about that. But are you signed up for the workshop? Because that is part of what we are going to do and talk about there. And I'm trying to copy the link so I can put it in here. Align. You can keep talking while I type.
Okay.
I can't talk and type at the same time.
Okay. What was I going to say though? Yeah, you were talking about, I guess, sort of your timeline and alignment. I don't know if anyone else here is into astrology, but I found out a little bit after the fact that my Saturn return started basically March 2020, which is, your Saturn return is like a time of like transition, upheaval almost. There's a lot of change that happens during that time. Still in the middle of it right now. So things don't necessarily always feel the most settled for me personally. But it was interesting to know that that was sort of happening. And that is the time that I decided to go all in and quit my job. And throughout that time, I have moved to a few different places. I'm now settled in Mexico. But I did learn, like, leaning into those feelings as opposed to trying to fix them, I think is really the key, right? You have to be able to kind of sit with it and to explore it if you really want to get to a solution that is long-term.
Because I know that I've went through a whole of what's wrong with me? Why am I not happy? Like, I should be, instead of realizing like, oh, this discomfort I'm feeling, I should lean into that. Like you just said, I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. And maybe, I don't know. I didn't get that at all. I fought it until I couldn't
Yeah,
anymore.
it's really easy to do, right? Because everyone else is looking at you being like, oh, you're so successful, you did this great thing or are doing these great things. And you're like, yeah, but I don't really care about none of that.
Yeah. And that all I do, it's my day to day. Now that I think about it, like I wake up now, and this is partially because I work for myself. I do not wake up with an alarm. Like,
You still be up early as hell.
true, but I have always been an early bird. Some folks are obviously night owls. Because I was texting you at 2 a.m. this morning, thinking, oh, well, surely she'll be asleep and she'll just see this later. Nope, she replies back. Now, the real question was, why was I up at 2 a.m.? Because
That's the question.
that should not have been that. But like, I don't use alarm clock unless it's like I got a flight, and we know how I wait to the last minute to pack, and I book ridiculously early flights. So I need to get that hour or two sleep because I can't think coherently enough to pack. And so I want to make sure I get up for that. But um, like I don't wake up dreading anything. It's
Mhm.
more of like, oh, I've got these things. And then like the day will unfold. And I can remember before, like every, it got to a point where literally every day was a struggle. It was very monotonous. There was not joy in most of my life. And I know this sounds really horrible and depressing, but that's the reality of the life I was living. And it was just kind of like, this is what you do. You get up, you go to work, you pay the bills, you drive the kids to their things,
Yeah.
you go to
But
grocery.
I feel like that's, it's not uncommon.
No.
I think in general, but I think especially for Black women, because we're not socialized to, think about our own needs and desires, right? We're supposed to take care of other people. My grandfather was like the one person who was always like, are you happy though? Like he was the one asking me the question. My great aunt, on the other hand, was like, why does he keep asking you that question? Who cares?
I'm curious. Those of you that are here in the chat, has anybody in your life consistently asked you about your happiness? Because when you said that, I'm sitting here thinking like, did anybody ever care if I was happy? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think anyone in my life. I don't know that happiness was,
But like I think when you are, in a certain existence that is based in survival, you don't have time to think about happiness. We just trying to be here and to make it. And I think when you are, even if that is not necessarily your reality, if you are around other people where that is their outlook, you never really get to the happy part, satisfaction, contentment,
Okay. Well, I was curious if I was just the odd bird here, but it seems like a lot of y'all had a similar experience as I did, and nobody was checking for your happiness. So I guess that just underscores the importance of us taking ownership of that. And we always, as Black women, we always got to be taking care and checking on other people. We need to turn that instinct inward. And put it to use for ourselves. And
Yeah.
so maybe that's something we need to make a habit of asking ourselves. But are you happy? And if you cannot enthusiastically and readily answer that question with a yes, you need to make a change somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought, it might just be me. Okay. That's something that your kids want you to be happy. They've expressed that even. That's good. That's good. There was another comment in here. MT left their career as a dental provider in the federal government for a position with less responsibility and less prestige, and I'm so much happier. And I wonder, did you have any thought of taking a job with less responsibility or less prestige and that being seen as a negative thing? Because I know for a lot of my life, I would have viewed it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I even think about, I lived in DC for, I guess, almost 10 years. So like 6 of that being after college. And so I think with like the cost of living there, and as you mentioned earlier, not wanting to live with other people, and that, like, if I hadn't thought about my life in such strict standards of I need to live alone and I need to be in the city and I need to do this in this way, that I probably could have got here a lot sooner if I had just essentially stopped and asked myself what I wanted, and worked on it just not being as committed to the aesthetic and like what everyone else had to say about it.
And so I had a question in my head and it just left. So why do you think it took you so long to get there?
I think there wasn't a time when I was happy. So I think there was always this idea that I would get back there, that like, oh, I just need to go to Belgium and it'll be good. Or when I come back from Belgium, I'll be able to do it this way, so then it'll be good. And then I think going back to just the mental capacity that I was using to get through the workday and be in corporate America and, just be able to show up, that there was not mental capacity for me to work out these other things. It was just recuperating to be kind of ready to go back to work.
I don't think I knew that I could ask myself, like nobody was asking me about my happiness and I didn't know like I should care about my happiness. Mm-hmm. And so it never occurred to me to stop and ask myself that. And Cece says, however, maybe it's because I was always rooting and cheerleading for someone else's happiness instead of focusing on my own. Because as a Black woman, this is what lots of folks on the internet will tell you, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be a person on the internet telling you, turn that inward. Check on yourself. Ask yourself, are you happy? Be concerned with your happiness before anybody else's. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you to be selfish. That's what we're telling you.
Being selfish is not bad.
No, it is not.
I know that we talk about it like it is, but it is not bad. It is actually a very good thing. And a few weeks ago, I actually did a live on Instagram talking about how people pleasing and the whole putting other people before yourself actually kind of ruins your relationships, right? And one of the things is that you don't actually get to know yourself, right? So you're not getting what you need, but you also don't know how to ask for what you need because you've never thought about what is it that I need? What do I want from this relationship? What do I need to feel supported or to be taken care of in the way that I am maybe supporting and taking care of the people in my life? And getting to know yourself is hard work.
It is.
It's really great work. It feels really good afterwards, but it's
not something we have been conditioned to do. It's not something we have practiced doing, I would say.
Yeah.
Auntie Tracy, I remember telling my sister she wasn't happy and she screamed back at me, I'm happy. I said I was happy. And
I have a whole envision of like a story of a similar situation that I experienced.
I think that saying you're not happy is seen as a negative. It's seen as a weakness. What is wrong with you that you're not happy? You've got all this stuff. You've achieved all these things. What's wrong with you? So I think some of us may not even be to the point where we can verbalize that, because we've been conditioned and taught that, like, that is a weakness. That's a deficit, that if you're not happy, you should be, because you've got the things, you've got the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at this point, I just don't want to do what I'm doing currently. It's the area I live in, the people, not the job in particular, just a general dissatisfaction.
I think that sums up what it looks like to not be in alignment right there. Right? Like, when we were talking about being in alignment, it's very much, it can be like feeling overwhelmed or restless or dissatisfied, but it's also like just knowing that something, like, it's off, right? It's not that specifically like this job sucks, but you just know in your heart of hearts, it is not for you. You may not be at a place to put your finger on what about it or about the area you live. You just know that you are in a place that is not for you in however many aspects that's true.
Okay. And so I think this now is a good time to talk about the workshop that we are doing next Friday, which is all about how to get your goals, your time, and your money all into alignment. I don't know. Do you want to answer this question?
So I think I guess I kind of just answered, how do you know if you're in it or out of it? So if you are, and I mean this in a like grand scale, if more often than not, you are feeling overwhelmed, dissatisfied, if you ever think about, I could just run away right now, just leave it all and run
That's
away.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Like, that right there, you are not living in alignment. Whereas, like, I think I would define living in alignment as, I mean, I guess simply like things just make sense. You don't necessarily have like an explicit answer, but you feel good, and the decisions and the choices you're making and your behaviors, like, they feel good to you, they make sense to you, and you don't really care if they make sense to other people. And I would kind of just say it's like action with ease and like peace, right? It doesn't mean that you don't get upset or that you're not scared about some of the things that you're doing if they are new or different to you, but there is a sense of calm that comes with making a decision that is in alignment with who you are fundamentally.
Okay. There's some really good comments in here that I'm trying to star so we can come back to, so that I don't
well, I'm just letting you handle that. No, I just don't even look at it.
Yeah, so that I don't shift the topic now, because I know Ivana is used to me talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden I come out of the blue with something else, and then I circle back over here. So I'm trying not to do that now. Okay. So we're doing a workshop next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It is free. There is a link in the description, bit.ly-goals-time-money. You can sign up. Now, who is this workshop for, and who is it not for?
If you are ready to do some of the work that Aditya and I have talked about, of learning more about yourself, committing to this 1 hour, right, to take some of that time out for yourself, no distractions, I think you should definitely be there. If you are looking for us to tell you exactly what you need to do next, right? Whether you should move to Mexico or not, whether you should quit your job or not, whatever that is, we can't help you with that, right? We are here to help you do the work so that you can make decisions that you feel confident and that you feel confident about. But we can't do it for you. I'll say that.
Yes, I think, because y'all, it's an hour. There are hundreds of people signed up. Like this, we cannot in this setting give you that one-on-one kind of thing. Now, if after attending the workshop, or even maybe before, you already know, like, no, girl, I need to talk to somebody one-on-one. We need to get in here and work it out. Then, depending on I don't know what, you might want to book time with Ivana, or you might want to book time with me so that you can have that one-on-one. But that's not going to be possible next Friday.
Yes.
So, just want to make sure we're all clear on that. I don't know if we had any questions specifically about the workshop itself.
Well, if you have any, go ahead and throw those in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, Terry. OMG, I'm so out of alignment. That definition defined how I'm feeling right now. Anxiety just thinking about this. Are you signed up for the workshop? Come through. Come through.
We want to see you there.
One of the, I don't know if we want to talk about this now or if I want to visit some of these comments I saw. Maybe we'll come back to like choosing an expert. I don't know if that's a conversation we want to have now or not.
It's your show.
You're so helpful.
Was there something else on your mind in between that? If not,
well,
we can move into that. But
I'm glad to see that you are going to sign up, Terry. Okay, glass half full. Is it only on Instagram? Actually, it is not on Instagram. It is going to be on Zoom.
Yes.
The workshop is on Zoom. Here again is the URL where you can go to sign up to register. It is free, but it will take place on Zoom. It is on the 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
What else do we need to say about that?
When you, as an attendee, you will receive a free deliverable that Adelia and I have put together to help you sort of document and work through the steps and the tools that she and I will be talking about, in terms of aligning your goals, your time, and your money, and how to figure that out for yourself.
Yes, Auntie Trey, Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m., which is for us in Mexico City, that will be noon.
Yes.
I struggle with time zones, so I have to keep saying this out loud to make sure that I'm saying it right. And then sometimes I still say it wrong. The older you get, the more you realize self-care and happiness come first. When you turn 50, your perspective changes. I'm 64 and your personal happiness is everything. Think outside the box. And maybe because I turned 40 most recently, I've been saying since I turned 40, something magical happens when a woman turns 40. And then I was informed by some ladies in their 50s. They were like, oh, just wait till you turn 50. You thought you was having fun at 40. Just wait till you turn 50.
So, okay. Well, I'm sitting over here at a smooth 31, just waiting. So
just waiting, just a youngin', just waiting. Now I didn't. Justine was labeled selfish since childhood when I asked my mom for the definition, and she said, speaking up for myself. I think that is a common definition or belief that folks have. But how unfortunate is it that we are teaching children that advocating for themselves, looking out for themselves is something they shouldn't be doing?
See, I don't even think we teach that to children. I think we teach that to Black girls specifically.
You're not wrong.
Right? Like the idea that it is speaking up for yourself. Nobody else gets told not to advocate for themselves.
No, because you
right, like that is a leadership
think about
skill.
How white women move through the world.
Yeah,
they will be damned if they're not going to advocate for themselves. And here we're telling, oi, 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 oi. And Auntie Lou, Black women get criticized if we are selfish by our own people. Oh yeah, because we're supposed to be martyrs. We're supposed to take care of everybody else. And
who takes care of us? Okay, like no, we're over that. We're not doing that.
Yeah, anymore. No. Like this in this corner of the internet, absolutely not. We are so selfish around here. We are all about putting ourselves first. Because if you don't, I think about like the basic elements of human survival. Like you're supposed to look out for you. If you don't survive. In metaphorically speaking, or in reality, you don't.
Mm-hmm. It's the oxygen mask rule, right? Like you're supposed to put your mask on first and then help other people because you can't help anybody if you are passed out.
You can't. All right. I prioritize me. You matter enough to make yourself a priority. I think we all need to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We have any more comments in here? Okay, Terry is registered.
Woo!
Oh, glass half full. Yes, or we're thought of as aggressive when we start asking too many questions. I told y'all last week before, when my boss called me during the summer, because for those of you that don't know, I spent about 20 years as a public school teacher or working in K-12 in some way, shape, or form. And I had to report to a new boss, our very first meeting. And I'm being me. I'm asking questions because I am the person who asks the questions, who sees the thing that other people don't see. And so, like they're unveiling some new plan. And then I will ask the question, well, but when the kids do X, Y, and Z, what happens? And my boss, called me off contract during the summer to tell me, one, I had my arms folded in the meeting. And two, I was asking questions. And that's not how a team player behaves, because there was a lot of restructuring and they kept using this team player, like, are you on the bus metaphor? Like this was from the superintendent all the way down. And it was like, either you're with us and you're on the bus or you need to go. And so, yeah, I ask questions. Shame on me.
No, that is ridiculous.
Shame on me. I got this question. I don't know if Dara is here because she's in Europe. And so it's probably 2 a.m. in the morning or something like that. So maybe she'll see this later. I got this question from her. Mm-hmm. Is the Zoom going to be recorded and shared at a later time by any chance? I think the answer to this is we don't know yet.
Yeah. So definitely sign up.
Yes, sign up.
Because if it is, then you'll get it.
But we're not in any position to make a promise to that effect in this moment.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Okay. I think that was all of the questions. Teresa was also a question asker. And what was so odd when this woman, who was an idiot, by the way, and she was a racist, called me with this, like everybody else appreciated my ability to do that, to like think things through and see like where the holes might be. But no, as far as she was concerned, either you're on the bus or you're not. There was no in between, and people on the bus did not ask questions. So
No.
yeah.
Well, you clearly was not on the bus.
No, I was hanging out the window and I bounced as soon as I could. And that, of course, she didn't like that. She didn't like that either. Comfort. Yes, we're working in education. Education should be about inquiry. But it was discouraged. It was discouraged. And if you think about it, how much in our own lives have we been discouraged from asking questions?
Mhm.
And one of my biggest pet peeves in dealing with people on the internet is their poor ability to ask questions. And probably they can't ask them because they've not been practicing throughout their lives.
Yeah, I get irrationally angry when people ask me bad questions. And I know that we're taught there are no stupid questions. Like, you need to know what you need to know. But the thing is, a lot of times we're not asking questions that are actually going to get us the information that we're looking for. So for anyone out there, start at the end. What is it you actually need to know? And make sure that is the question that you are asking. Because I think we're also socialized as women to kind of ask very like passive,
yes,
open questions,
yes.
And assuming that the person on the other end is going to understand the actual point that we're getting at. And oftentimes they're not.
No, they're not. And okay, there was one more here. Or maybe I lost it. I don't know. Sorry. Sorry to that person. Sorry to that person. Okay. All right. Okay. So one other thing that we just wanted to touch on, I think we touched on this a little bit already, in that this workshop that we're doing next week is just 60 minutes, y'all. And that if you've got very, very specific concerns, if you're not comfortable navigating this journey on your own, it might make more sense for you to book time with one of us. But Ivana is a life and leadership coach. She has a very specific lane. Okay. My lane is a little bit more varied in that I deal with, like the moving abroad piece, the financial piece. Okay.
I would argue you are more on the logistics.
Yes.
Right? Like you can help formulate a plan. I am more the inner work, the mindset, right? Like, so if Adelia has given you a plan, but you're not actually doing the things on the plan, that's where you might talk to me about like, hey, I'm not doing the things that
why am I
not
not doing these things? Help me figure out why.
Help me do that. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but what we're noticing is that people are thinking maybe our lanes are a lot broader than they are. And maybe it's because, like, y'all know I keep it 100. I'm as transparent as I can possibly be. And maybe you enjoy that part of my personality and you're like, hey, I like Adelia. I'm going to book time with her because I want to work on X, Y, and Z. But I don't know anything about X, Y, and Z, possibly. Like, it's important to make sure that whether you're booking with one of us or you are booking with someone else who is an expert in their field, that their expertise lines up with what it is you need from them. Did I say that?
Yes, I think that is accurate. So I think this kind of goes into a little bit asking questions, but like being clear on what it is that you need, so that you can find the right person to help you with that, right? Because right? Like Adelia and I are wonderful and we can help you with a lot of things, but we can't help you with everything. So, in order for it to be an effective partnership, whatever that partnership is, you just make sure that you know what it is that you're hoping to get out of it. And then maybe we can help you figure out, hey, I don't do that, but maybe I know someone who does that, or here's what I think that you need. But I'm also a vibes person. So for me, I'm like, feel it out.
Which
okay, that is the truest statement. Because Adelia hates when I ask her, so what's the vibe?
because I will ask because I will want an opinion on something. And her response is, well, what's the vibe you're going for? I don't think in vibes. I don't think like that. I don't know. I mean, the first time she said that, I really struggled. Like,
yeah, you answered very incorrectly. It was over some shoes. And I was like, well, what's the vibe? What are we trying to do with these shoes? And Adelia was like, versatility. And I'm like, that is a function, not a vibe. Where are we going in the shoes?
Because again, I'm the head. I'm logistics. This is how we get from point A to point B. I don't know how to be that person.
Yes. So yeah, that is an accurate descriptor.
Yeah. Are there specific topics and themes you want to support? Very much the financial lane is my sweet spot. But I was going to say, because I have experience like navigating this big life change, finding alignment at a later point in life. And what does that look like, especially if you're like navigating divorce, that sort of thing. I feel like I've got some expertise to offer there. But I'm trying to think of one of the questions we got that I was like, I think somebody asked about like workers' comp benefits. That is not an area in which I have expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that most of my clients are a range of ages. I would say sort of like 25 to 45 seems to be the general sweet spot of where my people are. And they're at a crossroads is what I would say of a lot of what we talked about, right? There's a general dissatisfaction and they just don't necessarily know what their right next step is. They just know there needs to be one. And so we work together to really dig deep and figure out what is causing, some of that dissatisfaction, right? Where is it coming from? What is really important to you? And then based on that information, kind of make a plan forward for how you can make changes to your life. And sometimes it's quitting, sometimes it's not, right? Maybe it's just reframing how you look at your job of not needing to be the person to solve all the problems and see how much that frees up your day-to-day. But making sure that whatever changes we are trying to implement together are sustainable for you and the life that you're leading, right? So
look at this.
Pisces, all right? It's a vibes thing, all right? It's all intuition, all right? You know when it's right.
Now, and this is not to say that I don't use my intuition.
No,
but
it's different.
Differently.
It's different.
I use it differently. I saw your comment earlier, Patty. This is, I think we can say, the first of several collaborations. I think we can say that today.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. So you're not wrong.
Stick around, see what else there might be.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else we need to say? We talked about the workshop, how to sign up for that, and what that's about, and when that is, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about the changes that have occurred in our lives. Anything else?
I don't think so. Are there any other questions? I feel like we've been really clear on, who we want to see there. Sounds like there's a lot of people in the audience right now who will be joining us. Yeah, I'm excited about this workshop, and I was finalizing some of my pieces today, and I think it's going to be a fun time, and yeah, I think it'll be a good starting point for
Yes,
where our people are.
I think so too. So, okay, I'm trying to think of like, what are all the things I need to remind y'all of before we get off here? Again, if you are watching this, you're watching the replay, hello. The link to the workshop is in the description, as well as all of my links, as well as a link for Ivana. If you heard something tonight and you're like, you know what, I think I need to work with her, there's a link there. And I don't know what else I'm supposed to say.
And this is why I don't have a YouTube channel.
Okay. And slightly related, but slightly unrelated, just a little commercial plug in here. If you attended Exodus Summit and you got the all access pass, you already have access to the How to Get Residency in Mexico workshop that I'm doing with Rashida and Stephanie next Thursday. But if you are like, what is Exodus Summit? I don't know what you're talking about, but I do want to get residency in Mexico, especially after this shit show of an election that took place yesterday. And y'all, I could not stomach to even look up the results. I'm just basing this off of the memes that I've seen posted that I can tell that things were not great. But you're like, yes, I need to get up out of here, and I want residency in Mexico next Thursday at 8 p.m. Along with the ladies from Exodus Summit. We are doing a workshop on that. If you go to exodussummit.com/Mexico, you can see all of the information for the Get Residency in Mexico workshop. That's Thursday night. Then on Friday, the 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern is Ivana and my workshop on aligning your goals, time, and money. So, yes, Pamela, next week is looking up. Next week is the beginning of getting you to the life that you want. So, I think that was my last announcement there. Thank y'all for coming to hang out with us tonight.
It has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good time. And we will see y'all next week. Maybe we'll go live on Instagram at some point. I don't know. I ain't making no promises. But we'll definitely see you next week.
Yes.
Teresa, you got my email. But for real though, like, yeah. All right. Night, y'all.
Bye.